Welcome back to the Fox Robbins Business Show. Great to have you back. And once again, the Fox Robbins Business Show, this is all about developing your very best business ideas. And we want to address small business concerns, whether you're thinking about starting in business, or you already are and need help, direction, or suggestions or creativity, or you want to you have a business that's running successfully, but you want to make big changes, expand into markets, products, services, start going overseas, whatever it might be.
Make money.
Make sense. Make a lot of money, and whatever. We're here to help and lend assistance. I'm co-host of the show, Bill Fox, and the other co-host, without whom there is no show.
Oh, thank you.
We might say, is the ever omniscient, Coach Robbins.
Mr. Bill, how you doing?
The coach, the thing about the coach in small business, I mean, it's like a redundant to say Coach Robbins in small business is redundant.
Thank you.
Because he's been a small business owner. He's got the scar tissue to prove it, but he meets and greets and talks to all kinds of people. Even he still goes to classes.
Yeah.
Or he presents his own classes. I mean, you name it. This guy is all around. So he's got, the point is, he's got a wide view, an understanding of what's going on with small business, and a good feel and touch for that. So we have a part of this show that we like called Cliff Robbins Speaks. And Coach, what do you got for us today?
Bill, thank you very much. Today I would like to talk about, kind of lead into the subject today that we're going to have about starting a business or taking a partner into your business. We're going to talk about partnerships in business. I'd like to talk about a very important partnership in my life and in yours too, but you've got your own, and that's my wife. Okay? Now, you promised not to laugh when I said this, right?
I was about to.
Okay,
but,
yeah. My wife is a psychotherapist. You said you weren't going to laugh.
No, okay.
All right. Anyway, I met my wife, actually. She came to me as a client when she wanted to start her own practice, and I gave her business advice. I told her exactly what she wants to do, what she should be doing. But somewhere along the line, I got fired as her business advisor, because after we got married, she was explaining to me dual relationships, and I preferred to have her as a wife than have her as a client, and especially when I would tell her something to do, and no, why do I do that? Right? So I had to fire myself as her, because it's more important that I love the woman and we stay married, and so the only way to accomplish that was break the dual relationship thing away. Seriously, one of the really big problems in dual relationships, not just necessarily partnerships, is what we call family businesses. One of the key issues in a family business is understand something. When you're in the business, you're not my brother, you're not my sister, you're an employee. You're performing a function, you're in charge of purchasing or whatever. Right. And also, when we're at the Thanksgiving dinner table, we don't talk business. You've got to keep those things separate. And so what this show is going to be about is taking on partners and working with partnerships. It is a very difficult thing to do unless you do some of the things we're going to talk about in this show.
Okay. And we often say business partners start, and that could be, you say, oh, that's two people. That could be 3, 4, 5 people.
Oh, it could be a lot of different
people.
There's
no, and I'm involved. I'm working with a business startup. There are 4 of us.
Yeah.
And we're all equally contributing.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do?
Well, you have to.
But you start in on a business, or buy a business, or start a franchise,
right.
Whatever the case might be. This partnership idea we're focusing in on.
Well, people feel comfortable with other people involved. They feel like there's less risk.
Yes,
I mean, one of the examples I use is the Beatles. I mean, they had to join together, and now they make their own way, and then they all break apart because the partnership doesn't work, and they go on and they're successful in their own right. Everybody, we're human beings, and we're wolf pack type people. We want to start, I want to start my business. I'm going to start with my best friend. Good. Yeah. You don't like her? Okay. You know.
But it may take place in so many cases with very little planning and few ground rules.
That's the biggest mistake. If you plan it out, which we're going to talk about, it can work. It can be truly what it's supposed to be, which is synergistic. 1 + 1 = 3.
Well, speaking of which, the first question I have for you, ask yourself, do I really need a business partner to build a successful company?
Right.
Examine that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, what skills is this business partner going to bring that you don't have? I might be the greatest software writer, I'm not, on the planet, but really I'm not good with the marketing and the sales piece, but my buddy Bill, this guy's a great salesperson. He's great at understanding how to market this service, and we also might need somebody that could be the chief financial officer and handle the operations and that's a weakness of mine, and it's not a strength of yours, so maybe there's going to be a partnership of 3 people, but you understand that you've got to set the thing off on day one on the right foot so everybody understands every key aspect of who's going to do what, who's going to get what, when, where, why. There's checklists for it. We'll talk about it.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I want to get you right into that. My next PowerPoint is communication. Communication is important at every stage of a partner, especially at the outset.
Oh, it's critical at the outset that you get all the ground rules in place. But continuous continuous or continual, I forget, whatever means always being an open communication line between the two. Don't let things sit and fester, because what happens then is that things blow up.
Incidentally, I don't know why, I mean, I'm just thinking as we go along, there is, of course, such a thing as an informal partnership. We just start working together.
Yeah.
There's also formal.
Yes.
I mean, there is such a thing as a legal partnership.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we're going to talk about that.
Yes, sir.
But I just want the people watching Fox Robbins to understand. I mean, it could be informal. It could be formal.
Right.
Informal, could be worse, because you just go on from day to day. And let things develop as they will without any forethought. This communication.
That's a time bomb.
Yeah.
That informal. That's a time bomb looking for a place to explode.
Right. There's an idea here, Coach, that the people you spoke of. I mean, there's you and the marketing guy, the organization guy, or whatever.
Right.
You haven't, maybe you have not worked together previously. You could actually, test out the partnership.
Sure.
Tackle a small project, see how things work out. Is that possible?
Absolutely. I mean, it's even my wife dated, and we dated before we actually got married.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah. You want to take in a partner? Maybe you hire him or her, and see if you work together, and you say, you know what, I'd like to make you a partner. Well, why? How much? But at least now you know somebody. See, this is why people tend to go into business with their friends or their brothers, or because they know them. That's not the best reason in the world to go in, but it is certainly part of the equation.
Speaking of which, I wanted you to comment. I mean, it's such a natural thing to fall in with my brother, my sister, my cousin, my wife. God,
my
help me,
best friend, and my best friend. We've been friends for 50 years.
That is so easy to fall into that,
and you're comfortable with them. But and by the way, it can work if you do it right up front. It can also explode if you don't handle it correctly. If things aren't clear, it can be a disaster.
Well, one approach here that I want to ask you about is the idea of gauging gauging or thinking about analyzing how well you might work together, talk with each other's colleagues and or like family members.
Yep.
I mean, bring other people into the discussion.
Sure.
Say, we want to do this. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. That's all part of the dating process, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, that just get to know people, right? Get to understand how they think, how they work, are they difficult to get along? Personalities, do they fit with the culture of the company? There's just, you got to take your time and make sure you're going to take on a partnership that's going to work. You can't just throw it together because, this will work. No, it takes time.
Well, there's little side points. I mean, suppose, what if a spouse or kid wants to join the business, or I'm gonna work with you, and then you pop up this genius idea and say, oh, my wife wants to be a part of this. Holy mackerel.
Can be good, can be bad. But again, you got to watch out for those dual relationships.
I don't know. The exit sign is over there. I think I'm headed for it.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say about hiring a kid, and then your kid hires his kid. Shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in 3 generations because they're coming in and they're not pulling their weight as employees. Can be bad.
But what about? Is there something in there about one of the other partners acting unethically, or maybe not doing things, by the book? What if you have a partner who wants to move out of the country or move to some other location? I mean, there's these issues. There are issues in there.
Partnerships break up. You also, part of understanding is how putting a partnership together is how would you dismantle it under certain circumstances. Sometimes a partnership is harder to break up than a marriage, and they're pretty tough to break up too. Ask any divorce lawyer, right? I mean, but breaking apart, it's all part of the upfront stuff. What's each partner going to do? What's their share? What are their functions? Are they putting money in? How are they getting reimbursed? And by the way, if one wants to leave, well, what is the mechanism for getting them out of here cleanly? There's a whole list on our website, which I actually have on my TV screen here, of all the things. What's each partner's share? What's each partner's title? Does each partner have a job? What's their authority? Why are they required to invest? What's their time commitment on this thing? How are the profits going to be distributed? What happens if the business needs more money? What if each partner's responsibility for the future of investment, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? There's a whole list on our website of partnership questions that you really should get answered in the nascent stage of the partnership, the creation of the partnership. That's not a bad idea, and you may never have heard me say this. Have a lawyer involved to make sure that you both understand and it's all legal.
You guys might be thinking, boy, Ian and the coach are just pounding this thing into the ground. We're passionate about this because you know what? The odds on partnerships, most of them fail.
The gigantic percent, and they fail because they don't do it right in the first place.
Yeah, and that's why we're pounding on this. You got to think about this stuff if you're going to get into business and involve other people in a partnership relation. Is also the thing about the partnership deal, Coach, is that one partner can act on behalf of the other. I mean, you can run up a debt, make a promise, or take action.
If it's just a general partnership, if it's not an LLP or an S Corp, and we talk about those things, there are rules to those things set in the business. But if you and I start a business, and we just shake hands, and we're going to be partners, okay? And you run debts up, or I run debts up through the roof, and I'm not doing the job, and all of a sudden we get sued, and you're worth $5 million, and I don't have anything, we might be 50-50 partners. So they're going after the deep pocket, which is you. So you better have a formal partnership. You better have an understanding. All of these agreements have to be put down, which is, again, why I say, get a lawyer to help you put this together. You'll never hear me say that very often.
I just want everybody to understand that we keep hounding this because it can be beneficial, it can work great, but there's a 90% chance that it won't.
There's a 90% chance it's going to fail because you didn't do it right in the first place. You didn't set it up right. You didn't enter into a written partnership agreement with everything understood, everything worked out before you ever shake hands and become partners.
Well, that's along the lines that I'm going to ask you about maybe considering a 2 or 3 day retreat idea, a retreat, getaway, discuss individual expectations.
Yep. And have a guide, like I say, on our website, the SBDC website.
Yeah.
We have several pieces of paper, the PDFs you can pull up, that are partnership agreements, questions you should be asking and answering with each other. All right? What are the names of the partners? What are they going to own? What are they going to do? How are they going to be paid? How would they invest? What do you bring to the party? How many hours are you going to work a week in this thing? I don't want to be having you, quite frankly, working 60 hours a week, and I kind of show up and working 25 hours a week. We're both drawing the same salary out of the thing. You got to iron these things out, and once you do iron all the details out, you have to have the discipline to live up to what you agreed to.
I can't order you either.
Right.
I can't say, Coach, you will get out of that store and do it.
Right.
I can't do that.
I know. We're partners. Right.
We want to be, we mentioned this before, you mentioned this in passing about being especially careful when friends or family members are involved.
That's you want to remain family members? Yeah. You want to remain friends? And by the way, like I say, it's okay. There are a lot of great family businesses, and they've worked it out over the years. They understand how the dynamics here, because of this dual relationship things as the psychologists talk about, have to be handled in such a way that it's clear, it's understood, it's agreed to, and the discipline is there to follow the rules.
Speaking of family members, especially, and you mentioned this earlier, the spouse partnering with spouse, working together may put added strain on a relationship, and couples quickly discover that it may be too much togetherness. By the way, you and I, we're going to schedule a show with a partnership, a man and woman, wife, not a man-woman, a wife and husband, husband-wife team, who have made it. That would be, Beth and
Marcus.
The Marcus people.
Fabulous.
We want to highlight a success story.
I said, it could be synergistic from a standpoint. There's 1 and 1 making 5 there, because they just work great together. It's working.
Boy,
I could show you 10 more that never did.
If you could drill down into what happened there.
Well, you can. And they understand each other completely.
And this is also your advice earlier in the conversation, creating a partnership agreement instead of just let's just start and work to start working together.
It's going to be great.
What about a partnership agreement? So many so-called partners do not do this. You're saying no, there should be an agreement and help from a lawyer and even an
lawyer isn't bad. It doesn't have to. You don't have to file it with a court, but a lawyer can say, "Good, this is the legal end of what you're trying to accomplish." Like I said, we have a legal partnership document. If you just take it, plunk it, print it, each of you go home, fill it out, what your vision is for how this thing's going to work, and all of these constructs, and then get back together and say, "Do we agree? We don't agree with that. How do we work it out?" Do it before you start into the partnership very far.
And agreements, Coach. If there is an agreement, and it's what you just mentioned, I want to focus in on that an agreement should have something to say about compensation. Exit. You mentioned this before. How we, I know it's different. The idea. We're getting married, so we want to discuss how the divorce is going to take place. That's kind of a downer, you know what I mean?
But it doesn't have to be a divorce. It can be, I don't want to.
Want to back away and do something else?
Remain friends, and it's clean. It's simple because you know what? I put $100,000 in the business. I've worked here 40 hours if you have. We've both taken a salary out. But you know what? There's something I want to do. I want to maybe, get my money out of the business. Should we all agree to up front in case? The what ifs should be addressed. Because if the what ifs come in and they're a big surprise, that could be a big problem.
And the roles that you mentioned this too was roles and responsibilities. Actually,
what are you doing?
What are you going to do?
What do you come in and
what am I going to do? What do you expect me to do?
Right. And what can you do? Quite frankly, I can't expect you to do something you can't do. Like if you and I go in a partnership and you want me cutting wood with power saws, you're in trouble. No, I'm in trouble. I'm going to cut something off. It's not what I do, you know. But no, it has to be agreed to and understood.
It's typical that partners would have equal ownership, which can be a problem in for itself.
Yeah, because how do you resolve?
And that each contributes 50% of initial investment. But
how do you resolve a dispute?
The terms and conditions and understanding of a partnership, we're talking about human beings, and the terms of partnerships can vary all over the map.
All over the place.
Typically, it's a sharing idea. A partnership is a sharing idea. But you mentioned, one of the things you mentioned just in passing was you put $100,000 up, you know, for us to buy inventory or whatever.
Right.
I didn't.
Right.
You know.
Right.
What about that?
How do I protect my? Well, I mean, we could create an S corp. We're each 50-50 owners. And again, how do we resolve a dispute? Because neither of us own 51%. Right. Either of us own 51%. That resolves the decision, if not the future dispute.
Right.
So I loan the company $100,000 at 9%, and I'm getting my money back every quarter. I mean, again, I'm not saying that's how you do it, but decide how to do it. Don't just, okay, let's just kind of go forward. We don't know where we're going. You better know where you're going.
I want you to elaborate on that, covering a plan on an agreement up front, you know, that's talking about the exit. I mean, things, you know, in human affairs, suppose I want you out.
Right, yeah.
That's not a nice idea.
No. What if you want me out and I don't want to get out?
Yeah.
How are we going to resolve those disputes?
Right.
You should look at those things and make a decision to the best of your ability. And again, the partnership agreement that we have on the website covers every single contingency. At least you're talking about it up front.
Right.
You know, if either of us want the other out and the other doesn't want out, how do we resolve that? How do we resolve if, God forbid, one of the partners passes away? Right. Who gets their shares of that corporation?
I know. Did you ever hear that anecdote? I got to ask you this. You know, that anecdote I saw a long time ago was an idea, you know, for this, you know, exiting. The agreement would say either partner, you, me, can say, I want out. And that's having been declared, that's immediately acceptable and executable. I mean, that's going to happen. You say, we got to get out of this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to take place.
Yep.
I mean, we agreed to that up front.
Yeah, but how?
I get to name the price.
Yeah.
You get to say,
I'll buy or sell.
I want out.
Well, that's the cookie.
But I get to say how much.
Yeah, that's the cookie. It could be, I know, no, that's like, you know, I'm going to take and break the cookie in half. Yeah. And I'm going to let you choose which half you want. I'm going to be real careful to break it in half, right?
Oh, goodness.
Settle it up front. That's this whole show going to be settled in one step. Make sure every single nook and cranny and idea and possibility is covered with an agreement. Right. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a signed, sealed. We understood each other. It has to be written, you know. And it's not a bad idea for each of us to sign it and say, we really do understand all the constructs of this partnership.
I saw a partnership, you know, taking place. The two partners got along just fine. They were both agreeable and amiable, and they worked together well. But the wife of one was passing poisonous ideas to her, you know, weak-minded spouse. Yeah. She was a tiger lady, apparently, according to the story. Yeah. And she was whispering at this guy and filling him with ideas that ended up poisoning the partnership.
That there's also that aspect too. You know, I mean, partnerships, like I say, they're tricky, they're risky, they're difficult. They fail way more often than they succeed. But when they succeed, they're a grand slam home run.
Outline, speaking of planning up front, outlining expectations for how you'll operate the business. Yep. Establish routines for for daily communication. Those are good ideas.
The devil's in the details in this whole issue.
inevitably some potential partners will realize through the process that they weren't meant to be, that
Yeah.
the partnership wasn't
Yeah.
meant to be.
Yeah. And that's when somebody says, this isn't working. Here's how we agreed we would separate this thing. You know, we would have an independent appraiser come in, appraise the business, and then one of us could get a loan if we can and buy the other out. I'm just making up a for example. But you have to be able to have everything. You can't cover everything, but the more you cover, the better off you are.
Right. And excuse me, you realize that this addressing all these issues of bringing them up front would help better focus the business later on. How you work out the details of setting up a partnership could be an indicator of how well or how poorly the prospective venture will operate. I
Absolutely.
mean, going through this planning process you're suggesting and getting ideas out in the open ahead of time, right there is
You're going to be able to see, you know what? Gee, I can really work with Bill. We're going through this very complex, sometimes ticklish questions, and we're getting through it very well. And yeah, you know what? I feel the same way. You have to be of like mind to some degree.
Right.
Again, it's all up front. All the work you do before you ever sign the document, shake the hand, whatever, start the business, open the doors, that's going to be the key to your success and your mental and your sanity too.
So we're saying, great, have a partnership. Get
Yeah,
involved
have
in a
it.
partnership. Have
Just
it. But
set it up right
set it up right.
early.
Don't just start.
Oh, don't just, let's
going away.
jump in. We're buddies. Let's be
let's
partners.
go.
Whoopee-doo. No whoopee-doo.
And thank you for watching Fox Robbins. It's been great to be with you again. And you can contact us at foxrobbins@gmail.com with your comments and suggestions, ideas, for future shows or other items that you want to bring to our attention. Please feel free at any time. And we will see you guys next time.